Hey, Bob.
Odenkirk. Jesus Christ.
How are you,
Sorry to
sir?
interrupt your show.
Don't worry about it.
It's just
You're not interrupting anything.
It's just a strange
Huge
day
fan.
today, sir.
Huge fan of Breaking
going
Bad,
on?
of course.
I'm
Hanging
a big
out.
fan of radio.
Are you?
Are you really? Why?
Are you really?
We're
The last of a dying breed.
Yeah, we're not, and we do it every day.
This is Don Trump
Oh,
Jr.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Yes.
You related to the senior one?
No, not at all. Yeah. yes, I
Poor
am.
fella.
He would be the son.
Poor fella.
Yeah. Yeah. Donald Trump put out a few kids, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He
How's
put out
it
a few.
going? You're like a judge on one of those shows, right?
Exactly, on The Apprentice.
Hey, I just got hired as a judge on one on a show's coming out next year.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's called America. What is that you're doing? Are you? Is that your talent?
Isn't that
What
every
you're doing
reality
right
show?
now?
Yeah. What is
Can
that
you-
you're doing?
Can you stop that?
It's a long title
They're going to use an acronym.
with a lot of
I'm going
dots.
to use an acronym.
dot.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Is that fun?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to quit my day job, but it's sort of a interesting way to break up the year.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, I guess, being kind of a real estate guy, I'll look back on
Yeah.
20 years and be like, hey, I was like network TV for 7 or 8 years.
That
Like,
is
that's kinda
pretty
cool,
cool when
It's
you think about
it's just
your
a life
real estate
experience,
guy.
It's not something I do. It doesn't change what I, just makes my life a lot harder during the time that we're filming because it's hours that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I
Yeah.
got to go back and, but it breaks it up. It's pretty cool.
That's the beauty of my career. I don't have that whole hubbub with TV to interfere with the shit that I'm doing.
But watching TV.
that
well,
does get very
yeah,
distracting.
That's a lot of fun. You worked with Bob, right?
We did it years ago, man. We
Yeah.
we haven't seen each other many. We did me, Bob, Rich Voss, and Zamuda as Tony Clifton. It was this weird thing where they were showing outtakes.
Why were we doing that? What was the event?
It was an Andy
Is it a
Kaufman
special that they were showing on TV, or there was some reason why it wasn't just. It was like the 10 years.
It was or
maybe.
20 even
20 years.
of
Jesus.
Andy Kaufman's death. It was at the House of Blues in L.A. And they showed a lot of Jim Carrey footage that wasn't in the movie from. It was right whenever
Man on the
Man on the
Moon.
Moon came out.
Right.
And then they did a walk by Kaufman's house. We went over to the Comedy Store.
Yeah. It was kind of a weird show, but cool that way.
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
a cool one, and I'm a fan of Jim. He's a funny
thanks,
guy.
man. Thank
oh,
you.
man. I
Jimmy
am.
is.
That was
He's
a weird. That
he's
was a
sweet
weird
boy.
night. It was a weird
But
crowd.
it's for Andy Kaufman, so
But
that's why
what do
we
you
did it.
It was
expect?
perfect.
Right.
Perfect
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Andy.
I'm
Yeah.
jealous. I would have loved to check that out.
I was before I. It was my first time I think meeting Zamuda, and
He's
it
been
was
on the show.
It was as it got hotter and hotter. The fucking Clifton makeup gets
Started
tougher
melting?
and tougher to keep on.
Oh God,
Nice.
And
Starts
he's
melting.
doing it again. He's doing Clifton.
He is,
hosting
right?
a show at the Comedy Store.
He
Really?
came in as Clifton about a year, maybe.
Oh,
it
yeah?
might be 2 years
Was
ago
it
now.
pleasant?
No,
It was weird.
he's not a pleasant man.
It was very strange.
It's
Extremely
very-
strange.
Very odd. Yeah,
Yeah, but we enjoyed it.
Yeah, Zamuda's a weird dude, but I mean, he's managed to keep that going for
amazing, right?
a long time.
Yeah.
And it's odd. We all know Kaufman is fucking dead, but there is a part of you that when this son of a bitch sells it, you're like, well,
Yeah, that could be him.
you have like a little hope.
know,
and then you're like,
I know.
Yeah, a little hope, right?
yeah, then it's just, you realize it's just fucking Bob.
Yeah.
I love what they did with that. I love that they switched off who played the character, and
Yeah, just
it
an
was also
amazing
kind
thing.
of comedy that it seems like it would fit in right now. Everyone would understand it with Between Two Ferns and
Yeah.
stuff, the kind of rudeness and. But back then, that's
It
so
was just
nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts, man, and he would do stuff that
Going
just
on-
people didn't like.
They went on. Did you see the
Genuinely.
Dinah Shore show appearance?
Oh my God,
No.
Oh, it was great. It was just great.
Was
He
it was it
rude
with
and
Kaufman
stupid.
or
I think it was. I think it
Zamuda?
was Muda, and he was hilarious.
Yeah,
just because back then there was no alternative comedy.
Right.
It wasn't this weird irony. It was like you were just a guy who they thought sucked. That was really ballsy to fucking do that, man.
Yeah,
'Cause he
yeah.
was
To
doing
go
it-
up and bomb on purpose was a...
Yeah.
Catch a rising star. It's not like it was the Luna Lounge where people were a little bit more tolerant because they knew you were exploring a certain
Right.
mentality or a certain thought process.
Right.
This was
Yeah.
just what the
The
fuck
only
is he
thing I
doing?
would say is different is I used to go do stand up at the Improv here when I wrote for Saturday Night Live because I wanted to get a laugh once a week.
Nice.
If you can believe that going to the Improv was the thing that fed my soul. You know how rough SNL was.
What years were you there?
87 to 91.
Okay.
I wrote for Dennis Miller and Jan Hook's time, and then also Farley and Sandler.
The
those
Farley
guys.
years were
God,
fucking amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, some great stuff. And on the wall, they had those photos. Do you remember? Did you ever do that club?
The New
old
York Improv.
the old one.
I think I went in there once. It kind of was before my time.
So, anyways,
closing.
on the wall were these pictures of acts, and it was so weird because there were singers, and there were people doing juggling, and then they explained to me that that's what used to happen in a comedy club in the 70s. Was you have a comic, a singer, and a specialty act in that order all night long.
That's
like a variety show
It was-
almost.
yeah, like Ed Sullivan. People
Imagine being
spinning
those
plates.
weird variety acts. Yeah, those spinning plates
Yeah.
in a nightclub.
It was always weird. Like I remember Ed Sullivan, and it was that kind of dumb thing. And the whole family would sit and just be captivated by somebody doing some awful thing with bouncing balls and spinning plates
Yeah.
and juggling bowling pins. It's like, whoa.
Yeah,
Who's watching
this
this
party,
shit?
This is a party act, right?
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is like
yeah.
a 6-year-old birthday
A
party
birthday
act.
party act, and it's on
But they
national
were on
television.
national TV.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
amazed
like
there's
it'd be
enough
like-
people interested in taking the time to learn a practice like that. Like, what's for
Backstage, imagine that. The Beatles talking to the plate spinning guy.
Yes.
And they're both doing equally well. They're both at the same place in their career.
No one remembers that. Like when the Beatles were on Sullivan, like there had to be some filler acts before and after.
The zookeeper with
Yeah, and there was a guy that's like, yeah, I played with the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. No one remembers me.
That's a funny moment in Mr. Saturday Night, which it wasn't my favorite movie, but there was a really funny moment where Buddy, who is Billy Crystal's, like nightclub guy who never quite made it to the big time character, comes out was it before or after the Beatles, and he's just screaming at all the kids and he fucking sabotages his career. But it was a very funny thing to picture a comedian having to come out and fucking work with the Beatles.
Well, the Beatles.
Yeah, I just don't remember if it was before or after them.
Yeah.
But somebody else did.
You were involved in Mr. Show, right?
I helped with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in the way of the camera. David and I did that. David Cross and I.
And of course also Ben Stiller's show too. Which,
yeah.
That show, why didn't that show take off?
Well, because it was on opposite 60 Minutes.
Oh, was it?
It was such a crazy placement for that show. It was
Sunday at fucking 7?
parodies and definitely for young people.
Yeah.
And it was opposite 60 Minutes. I mean, it was death right away.
What time? What channel?
Jesus.
It was Fox, which was just beginning
Yeah,
to
it
have
was the early
shows. So, you
stages,
didn't even know they had shows some nights.
They did have like a Fox Sunday, and then
Right.
like the rest of the week, it was
I don't know,
the local
reruns?
affiliate was running like
yeah.
I Love Lucy or something.
Yeah, right.
And then they built it into a 7-day-a-week network.
Yeah,
but
it
at the
was
time,
once-
you're right. It was like Fox Sundays.
Well, maybe they didn't have a lot of spaces to choose from, but it
Yeah.
really was not going to do well because 60 Minutes. They already had, all those people. Their audience was people between 7 and 75, and
Right.
we had everyone else we could pluck from.
Yeah, I remember that just being really a funny show, very cutting edge and comedy that you weren't seeing
It was
everywhere
also
else.
pretty weird. I mean,
Yeah.
people say, I don't know, when people use the word weird for comedy, I think sometimes it means they're boring. Like Mr. Show, I feel like people talk about it like it was weird or whatever, but I don't think it's weird at all. I mean, it's just the things we're making fun of are pretty apparent. If you're watching it, you can go, well, that's a parody of this, and that he's doing, And then I think the Ben Stiller show was weirder by far because the pieces were so such a strange mashup. Eddie Munster in whatever. What was it? I can't remember. Cape Fear, and where does that come from?
Medieval Cops. I remember that one too. It
was cool.
very
Some funny
funny.
stuff.
Yeah.
Who else was on that? It was you, obviously, Stiller, Janine Garofalo.
Janine, Andy Dick.
Oh, right.
Judd Apatow was the producer.
Jeez.
Rob Cohen, Jeff Kahn, David Cross wrote for the last 3 episodes. I never talked to him. I just gave him shit. He was in the room pitching, and he was a new writer, right? So he wanted to get something on, and people were pitching these parodies that I hated. These stupid, mix the titles together, and somebody had A Few Good Scouts. And I was like, ugh. And David was like, yeah, you could. He was just trying to cooperate as a new writer. He was like, I finally got a job. I'm making money doing comedy. And he's like, well, you could do this and you could do that. And I think Judd said, well, write it up. And I turned to him and I said, good luck with that. And he remembers that forever.
Yeah.
How hard is it to write for a show? Like, I've never written for anyone but myself, and like SNL is supposed to be a fucking rough environment, like a very
but I don't know what
place.
it's like now, because I think people are much nicer now.
Yeah.
It seems like just the vibe there is much better than it was when I was there and before I was there. When I first got there, I couldn't understand the coldness and the kind of strangeness and intensity of everyone. I mean, I was already intimidated because it's my first job and I'm 25.
Huge.
And then for people to like pile on the intimidation,
Yeah.
it was like, what is up here? And I found out that everyone felt that way about the place and previous, cast
Everyone
members.
I've spoken to from SNL has the same story about how just awful it was to work there.
Yeah, and they wouldn't go up there. I mean, I heard that like Jane Curtin said she'll never set foot on this floor again in her life,
Wow.
And, like, wow, really? I thought, wasn't this a great time in her life?
It looked fun.
Daryl Hammond was the longest running cast member, and he's been in 9 mental institutions.
That says all you need to know, right?
Now, does it have the same cachet today as it did back then when it was a rougher environment? Because I kind of look at it as like the ultimate back then, and I know it's still on, but it doesn't.
It does though. It does, and also, like I said, I think it's different over there now. I think everyone is nicer to each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's more people, which somehow makes it. There's way more writers. There was like 14 when I was there, and now there's like 23. So I guess your odds went down to get something on, but everybody's kind of in the same boat. There's so many people up there in the same boat, so they're kinder to each other, it seems. But I think it does because there's so many venues for comedy, and it's still a premier place.
Well, because my question is more from the business side: did like the aggressive work environment actually promote sort of a better product than the happy, friendly?
I suppose they probably
everyone
think
gets along
that
nicely.
may be true. That may be true. I don't know.
There's so many Saturday Night Live alumni that it's like, and all you guys seem like, it's like veterans of the Nam. You all have this like
It's
camaraderie.
an intense
We made
experience.
it through.
Yeah, it is a really intense experience. I totally respect to everyone who went through there. But the other thing is, I don't think people are deluded when they go there now. Like, oh, I'm going to be a movie star. They know I'm going to do this, and it might work. It might not pan out. I'm just going to try to do the best I can with this. So when I was there, people were still showing up going, that's it. I'm done. I'm a billionaire.
I'm huge.
Was that the Hartman years or no?
Yeah.
You there for Phil?
Phil, I was there for Phil.
You
Yeah.
guys are
Brilliant.
funny dudes, man.
Oh, that was
funny
great.
people.
Fucking
The best.
brilliant.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Simple caveman lawyer. That was one of the great
Yeah,
skits of
yeah.
all time.
Was
Hilarious.
Farley as crazy as everyone says? The stories
When
that
you
come
say
out.
crazy, what do you mean?
Well, I
He's
guess
a
there's-
really sweet guy.
No,
really
I
super
understand
sweet
that,
guy.
but there was one story about how he would shit out the window.
Yeah, he
and
would do that.
That's actually now been verified.
Why is that crazy? Let's analyze this.
I
Where
personally-
should shit go?
I should
When you
explain.
Flush it down the toilet.
I should explain. I'm a huge fan of Chris Farley, but
It's
they
crazier
said
to
he-
shit in your own window, I guess.
They
than
said he
out.
did
Yes,
that.
at least it's out.
It would be crazy
He
if it was on
kept
the
it. He
floor.
kept it interesting for everyone.
Yeah.
He
I should
was,
explain.
youthful. He was very.
So depressed when he passed, man.
Yeah, it was
he
really
had a lot
sad.
more to give.
He sure did, yeah, and he was a good actor too. I did Second City with him. I did the main stage with him, and he did a few scenes that weren't pure comedy scenes. They were kind of dramatic, and he could have done anything. His movie work doesn't show what he could have done,
Right.
And he just
His performance in Tommy Boy though was brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Really, but way past just being funny.
Yeah. It's a real shame because my kids don't really know who he is, and I showed him one or two movies, but he just didn't stick around and do enough to make the impact he should have made, But he was the best guy ever. I loved him. Everybody who knew him loved him, and and of course you saw it coming for so long. It made it worse because for so many years everyone was trying to help him, and it was weird because there was one party that I went to in L.A. and I didn't know he'd be there, and he wasn't drinking, and he was with David Spade, and he wasn't drinking, and he wasn't he was totally on the ground and doing great, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to make it. I'd never seen him like that. I'd never seen him so in control of himself. And it was like a different person than I'd ever seen. So it made me really happy and to feel like he did it. He made it there. I can't believe this. Because before that, you just see Chris sober after, rehab, but very still, kind of being a childish, kind of being immature, going, I promise, I'm going to be good.
Yeah,
but you kind of go like, you're just saying that to me like I'm your dad. I don't want to hear that. I want to believe it, and I did. I believed it, but I think he had a lot of temptation. There's people who have a certain kind of celebrity where when people see them on the street, they're like, dude, let's party.
Yeah.
And he had that.
Yeah.
So the temptation around him was insane and never stopped. And just walking down the street, and people are, this is their one chance to have a beer with Farley. I'm not going to pass that up. I know he's supposed to be sober. Come on.
And he's the big fun
just
guy.
this one time. Come on,
yeah.
Chris.
Very approachable.
It was really sad.
That's gotta be a
really
tough way to
sad.
live.
He was a
How long
great
after
man.
that did he die that you said you saw him at that and he
I'd
seemed
say
okay?
that was about 2 years after that. So it was a while. Yeah.
Wow.
There's something about like there's something about like those big fat guys who are like Gleason, John Candy, him, Belushi. They those guys also, those really over the top fucking gut funny fat dudes that are great actors as well. There's there's different to me than there's a certain physicality they have that like smaller guys don't have that they bring. Like no skinny guy could do what Gleason did. There's something about his large.
Why is that though?
I don't know. It's just the dynamics of how they're made up, and maybe what goes into making them big, loud, brash, funny guys.
Yeah.
But usually they turn to be fucking like Candy was a really good, serious actor when he did it. I'm babbling.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, Farley when he did the Chippendale skit.
Oh,
he was
hilarious.
actually a pretty good athlete, man. That stuff was
He
amazing.
was. He was
Yeah.
absolutely
For
a
someone
good
who-
dancer. I mean, he could do anything.
It was
Yeah.
incredible. I'm looking at that. I mean, he was as good as Swayze or whatever it was in there.
Yeah.
With
was-
like an extra 300 pounds. It was
classic, but Breaking Bad, obviously.
That's why you're here,
What
Bob, right?
about that show?
It's
What is with that show? I've never seen it.
I haven't seen
talking
it.
about it.
I'm
You guys-
embarrassed to
great.
say I haven't seen it.
I hear it's great. I'm a huge fucking fan.
That's great, man. Thanks.
I wound up
no
getting.
need to swear.
Well, that's true. I shouldn't use the blue language. There's no reason to go blue over here,
Satellite
children.
Radio.
Yeah, you kind of love it.
It's like ham, right?
Yeah, it's
like-
ham
No,
radio.
no,
Sometimes
I
we
get
get
it. I get
skip.
it, too.
We get skip, and we
love it.
broadcast to Europe.
Yeah, Breaking Bad's awesome. I mean,
It really is. And your character came in. Was it the
the
second
end of the
season?
second season, yeah.
End of the second season. Yeah, he had to get in enough trouble where he needed a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
I guess is why you came in at that point. The character's great. We were talking last night about your office alone
the great
is a
office.
character. That office is hilarious.
Yeah.
And God,
With the
what is it?
pillars and the-
behind
and
it, in
the,
God we trust.
Constitution,
The
yeah.
Constitution behind you.
on the wallpaper.
The pillars. It's so pompous.
Well, it's such a facade. I mean, everything
Yeah,
about
it's
Saul.
just a
When
facade.
they called me, when Vince called me to ask me to do it, which is amazing that he asked me to do it.
You were in mind when they you were the guy.
I guess so.
Wow, that's fucking great.
Somebody turned it down. Some idiot.
boy.
Did they ask you to read for it, or they said we'd like you to do it? That's great.
No, I know.
that's
Isn't that
perfect.
weird? And I said, so tell me about it. And he goes, well, he's a sleazy lawyer. And I go, great, I can do that.
how hard can that be?
And then he goes, his name's Saul Goodman, and he blah blah blah. And I go, whoa. I said, I'm not Jewish. My kids are Jewish and my wife is, but I'm not. And he goes, oh well, he's not Jewish. He's Irish. He made that name up. Yeah. He just wanted to
Even better.
appear Jewish to the homeboys,
because it is great. Saul
credibility.
Goodman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Saul
I said,
Goodman.
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right away. And I right away wanted to do the hair, the mullet, and the comb over mixed together, but also cleaned up as much as possible on the sides.
Yeah.
And no, No offense to comb-overs. I'm
family tradition. I heard that one on no less than millions of occasions.
I'm sorry.
No. I'd make fun of it myself, but karma's a bitch, and I figured my genetic propensity towards potential bad hair, I'd rather just not go there.
You're lucking out. You got a great head of hair, right?
You really do.
I'm doing okay so far. Yeah, that's why I don't want to tempt fate. I'll leave it alone.
Good. So and honestly, Jim, I showed up there. I would not have been surprised if they said Odenkirk. Oh, that wasn't the name. No, go back home.
We
Wrong
didn't want
actor.
you.
No, I can't believe it. So years later, 2 years into it, I asked Vince. Vince Gilligan writes the show, and he's the mastermind of the show. And there's great writers, amazing writers, but he is the final say, and I think propels it into the place that it is. And I said, so why'd you hire me? Is it because of the Larry Sanders Show? Because there's some similarities between the characters, Saul and Stevie Grant, the agent I played.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, Mr. Show. So I don't know. I'm not going to touch it. I've done it for 3 years now, and I love it.
Great situation, man.
I'm just going to keep going.
Was the character supposed to be as prevalent in the show?
No, he's. I don't know, because Vince is hard to scrutinize, but he said, initially it was 3 episodes.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Omar from The Wire was supposed to be on for 6, and it just worked, and he became the star of the show. That's great.
People love the character. The character's so sleazy.
It makes wisecracks and stuff.
Yeah.
And because for him, like all these characters that you've been watching, if you watch Breaking Bad, everybody's got a gun to their head.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. The wife of the guy who's making the meth is, scared to death. So he's the one character who wasn't in fear all the time. And he was just making wisecracks. And it was a big game to him. Like, how much money can I make off these idiot meth cookers, these degenerates? And then now, as the intensity of the show has gone up, which is amazing, right? That it keeps going up. You can't
really
believe
is.
it. Yeah. It's the hot water's starting to rise up.
Yeah, you can't be involved with that many people that are in that much trouble and not get your own hands dirty.
Yeah, I'm only on beginning of season 3, so don't really tell me to go earmuffs or something like that.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Yeah.
No,
but,
I was lucky enough to see the first couple of episodes before it aired, and the first episode was great. The second episode of the new season here, it was unbelievable. Just blown away by it. I was saying how it's almost like a movie that's taken years, because a lot of times they don't want a character to change in a show.
Yeah, TV shows about not
leave
changing.
Fonzie the way he is.
Yeah,
Fonzie's this guy. But like Walter White has completely changed through the whole show.
Yeah, well, that was the goal of making a show where that happened, which is it's probably happened once or twice before. I don't know when though. But mostly TV is about watching the same characters in the same place.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a no-no to make them change. You're going to ruin the formula.
But TV's really changing with these cable channels and what they're trying to do something new, and so that was Vince's idea, was to watch Walter White mutate and evolve or devolve into this evil guy and believe every step and understand why he makes each step.
And it happens so gradually that it's not like 1 week he's this timid guy and then the next week he was this tough guy.
Well, he's always got a loose screw. That's the thing that as you watch it, you start to understand that he's got this past, that he's got this anger and rage.
Oh, he's broken right from the beginning.
Jeff Garland said to me, because Jeff, like a lot of people, I have people come up to you when you're on that show all the time and go, I never watched it, and then 2 weeks ago, I watched all of them. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's like 24 that way. You know what I mean? You sit down, you're like, oh, and you realize you spent your whole weekend watching a show.
Yeah, and I think it's streaming on Netflix, so it's easy to watch them all. So Garland comes up to me and he goes, I finally watched them all. It's about middle age. It's about being a middle-aged white guy. Nobody says it. If you look at the character and how Walter White's character and how much rage and resentment he has, I think a lot of 50-year-old white guys are like, yeah, I never got mine. I never got what's coming to me.
He was invisible. He was just a science teacher.
Yeah,
and
shit on at every corner.
Yeah,
and then
always shit
boom,
on. And what's really great about your interaction with him in the beginning, you were shitting all over him. I mean, you controlled him like a puppet.
Yeah.
And then now in the last few episodes that I've seen from this season, boy, does he have you petrified now too? You know,
I've seen
he's the boss.
Yeah.
Oh, what he's capable of. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
We had him in recently, and
he's fantastic.
Brian described it as he said when he came up with the character and how to make it, he said he wanted him to blend in. It was really brilliant. He said, like, I gave him like these bland colors so he blended in, and an impotent mustache. And it's all I can think of now is an impotent mustache.
Yeah.
It's the greatest term.
Just sitting over his
facial hair.
with no purpose whatsoever.
Yeah, just nonsense on his face.
Yeah.
What a smart actor thing to do that is.
He's great. He's a great actor and a really great guy, and sets the tone for that set. And
then the Emmy nominations came out, and
13, right?
crazy, right? A lot.
Wow. It's amazing.
Amazing. I mean, Giancarlo Esposito is such a great actor, and he's plays Gus, and he's nominated, and Anna Gunn is nominated this year. She's so great as Skylar, and this year she's amazing what's coming up.
Yeah.
So
she looks petrified too, which is great. Like,
she's in such a spot. That first episode of this year, I don't want to wreck it for you, but
I'll go earmuffs,
right at the end, right?
I forgive you.
Yes. And
that was crazy.
And she's like, why? Her face is brilliant because you could hear her going, what? You forgive me?
Oh, man.
Everyone's just petrified. It's fantastic. Yeah.
It's a moment where you're like, I don't know if I wanted to see. You didn't need to have a camera in there then when they said that, did you?
Fantastic.
Did you need to show us that?
And it's also a credit to the show that a lot of people, when it first came out, weren't watching it. I mean, this is built up steam where people are going back and getting those first couple of seasons and blasting through them, trying to catch up before the spoilers come out.
I can't believe I get to be on it. It blows me away, and it's an amazing project.
I bet you get recognized a lot from this, or more so
from this than anything I've done. I've been doing comedy. Stiller's Show, Mr. Show, and all kinds of little videos because I'm always making stuff with friends in LA.
Funny or Die.
Funny or Die stuff. And, but I've done so much. But this is obviously the biggest thing by far, in a way, that I've done.
Yeah. Do you have any clue of where the storyline's going to go? Not even going to ask you what happens, but I'm just curious if you know.
I won't make it outside the studio.
That's true. We might have to beat it out of you.
It is a darker season this season, as you can see, and but there's some amazing, mind-blowing stuff that happens. That when I read it, you read the scripts. When I get the scripts, you read it. It's just like watching it. You're like, what? No, you're kidding me. I mean, I call them up and say, how are you going to do that?
That's got to be fun.
It is fun, and then you want to forget it right away because you want to watch it again and sort of see it for the first time.
Do you get the whole? You get the whole script. You don't just get your
at the
sides?
end. The last couple episodes of the season, they black it out like a government document.
CIA document.
Right?
Yeah, they do because script almost got out like 2 years ago. I don't know how. But they,
really,
so they don't want to.
They don't trust you guys
at
all.
It would ruin it for everyone.
Right.
I don't want to know what's going to happen, and especially now that the end of the run is kind of looming. I watch these episodes like you want to savor them. They end, and you're like, shit, there's another one gone.
Yeah,
I definitely say, because I watch it mostly on like an iPad when I travel. I save them all up, and so it's like, man, there's 2 more shows in the season. It's like, do I watch it now and try to grab it all in, or do I wait 2 weeks and just try to get something more out of it, and watch something else to break it up? And
I totally get people who go, I can't. I have to wait till the end of the season and watch them all. I can't, I can't suffer through the week.
I watch them, and when I ever watch anything, I watch it fast because of again, spoilers and the amount of on Twitter.
These pricks.
Yeah, they'll ruin anything on Twitter. So you got to get it out quick.
Whenever I'm doing something like that, having one of these marathons of a show that I haven't caught up on. I never say on the air that I'm watching it.
Oh,
because
speaking of
these
which,
sons of
don't tell me
bitches-
what happens on Big Ange.
Oh, damn! No, don't spoil Big Ange.
I'll get right now. I'm on season 2 of Laverne and Shirley, and I want to know what happens.
Yeah, she blows the big ragu.
Yeah, I hear there's a double dildo coming where the father catches him in the pizzeria, but I don't want to.
Don't.
I've been watching
spoil it.
Classic Sports Network. Don't tell me what happens.
Yeah, Ali Frazier's
in
next week.
Super Bowl 17.
Hey, you had a stand-up background, right? It was.
I did stand up. I'm not a real like you're a real stand up. I'm not a real stand up. I just use the stage for getting up there and telling jokes and.
But you did Second
stand-up.
City. I mean, that's,
No, but
Maybe
he does it for a living, and
I'm not in real estate. I just build buildings.
Jim fights with an audience. See, I don't do that. If they
Yeah.
don't like me, I go, well, okay, I got to go. It's okay. You don't have to like me.
Yeah.
I probably don't like you.
believe me, if I was a better actor, I wouldn't fight with him either. It's just I have no choice. It's either that or I'm fucking not working at all.
Yeah,
No,
you
but
got to
those-
go with what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a better
But you
actor.
know, that's part of it. You know, is being a real great stand up like you is
thank you.
that you get up in front of people and you work it with that crowd. You make it work for you. Is bet you know it's hard. It's a tough gig. So you know, I just do it for fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did it during the comedy boom when I was starting out because I always loved sketch comedy. That's always what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And but you could if you could write some jokes, you could
Get up there and
make
tell
some
them.
money.
Yeah.
Remember how crazy that was? I mean, I don't know if Jim, you came kind of
1990, I started, and I got my first paid gig like April of '91. I was on the tail end of the boom when it was
Right.
kind of bottlenecking a little bit. And
Would
a
you
lot
bamboozle
of
for that paying
Okay,
gig?
all right. I was
guys. Dennis Ross and Jim Florentine.
Oh, okay.
Got my first paid gig.
yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
damn.
Yeah, 91.
Because I do remember when, there were, on any Friday and Saturday night,
crazy.
there were so many comedy shows on television. Just they couldn't find enough clubs to pop a camera on in front of that brick wall
I know.
and just
it was nuts.
comic after
in
comic.
Chicago. It was like it was like there were 2 clubs, and then 2 years later there were like 12.
Yeah.
like you know these chains. They would open chains of them. Like
Of co-
Zanies
right,
had like
right,
3
yeah.
locations, and
One of those
funny-
just closed too. The Zanies in
oh, they closed
Vernon Hills
like 2
closed.
of them. Yeah.
And quantity did not mean quality.
No,
either.
it didn't.
Wow.
No. And every disco had used to be disco, had a comedy night.
Comedy
but, you know,
night,
you could pick
yeah.
up $50 and it's better than waiting tables.
Just
That
a
hurt a lot of
mercenary.
comics too, though. Like a lot of guys who might have been much funnier start headlining before they were ready because there was so many headliner spots available. And then in 1993, 94, 95, they weren't good at writing material, so they were doing
Right,
the same
right.
shit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
A lot of those guys have been phased out and
Yeah.
probably would have been better acts if they had been forced to
They had to just
fucking work their way
fill
through
the
it.
clubs
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
They're trying to fill up so many goddamn comedy
It was
clubs.
so crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts back
You
then.
can't do it like you can't just. It's not like opening a disco where you just play the top songs and everyone can play them. You need
Right.
to get these guys to show up and have material,
Entertain
and
a
So
crowd.
it was really some lame comedy.
Yeah.
I find sketch to be harder because, like, I've never seen Second City live. Excuse me, but I've gone to UCB and when Amy Poehler went in one night, and what a masterful improver she is. She's fucking brilliant at it. And it's like improv is either really, really horrendous,
Yeah,
or
right,
it's fucking art.
Well, you know, if you're going to do it good, the people who do it well, they do it all the time. You know, they get their head into this space. It's
Yeah.
I've seen some great improvisation. I'm not a great improviser. I've done it, but I've seen some great stuff. And UCB guys are the top notch people. Some of the people who do like Ass Cat and stuff. You know, like Besser and Amy Poehler and Matt Walsh. But then you're right. A lot of improv is terrible. But sketch, to me, he was writing sketches and then putting them up. And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, I
coming up
love
with
that. Monty
idea and then-
Python and
Yeah.
early Saturday Night Live and Second City TV. Those were the things.
Oh,
that,
you guys were. I'm sorry. Were you guys more improv or sketch? Were you doing improv
well,
too? Or mostly?
I did improv because that's where you do it in the same place where you would do a sketch show. But I was always more for let's go write this and try to make it good. And improvisation to me was a way to get there. But I always was skeptical of improv and still am a little.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're really good at it, when people do it 2 times a week for 3 years or more, some people do, they get to this place where their head is just they're making connections. The Groundlings is amazing too in L.A. The alumni Groundlings, the guys who've been just doing it for years, and that can be mind blowing because everything ties up and it's funny and how did you do that? It's hard to grasp.
Yeah,
but but a lot of improv is just people being clever on stage and being scared, and everyone laughs because they're all worried for you. It's just weird.
Yes.
So we'll get together and we'll worry. And then if anybody says anything remotely clever, we'll all be thrilled.
Very hard.
Laughing at the cleverness instead of like maybe sometimes it would deserve a nod, but it gets a laugh.
Right.
I still find it scary because I just know I would find crutches and just lean on them constantly. I knew it's very difficult to do.
Well, stand-up is a scary thing.
Chips
Both the chips.
Yeah, chips are a great
Stand-up
example.
seems petrifying to me.
Stand-up is a scary thing because of the audience, though. I mean, you get some really rough audiences in stand-up.
Yeah, but you can attack them. You can't attack
though.
the camera guy or the fucking writers when you're bombing in a scene. It's horrible because you're stuck in it. I just got to keep forcing out my dialogue.
Yeah.
Stand up, you can go wherever you want to go, and like you can own it. I can say I stink. This crowd blows. I'm terrible. You can acknowledge it. It's much more. It's much easier to me than acting is fucking hard, man.
Yeah, it looks
Hard.
it.
You're stuck in a scene. And
How
you
do
can't get out of it.
How did you feel when you got this part? Is this like your first really dramatic kind of? Even though there's a comedic element to it, is this really your first kind of dramatic role?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean,
did you have any reservations about
things. No.
Boy.
The only thing about it is, in comedy, comedy is back and forth. You say two lines and the other person says two lines, and in this, my character is a kind of a motor mouth, and he runs off, and so I have these long monologues, and I wasn't going to memorize it because I was used to comedy scripts, and you get the blue pages, which is the rewrite, like 3 days before you go shoot it, right? And anything long in comedy gets cut down to 2 lines.
Right.
Yeah, I can't help you today. Here's the door. And so I didn't memorize it because I was like, well, they're going to shorten this. Essentially what my character's saying here is, I can help you. So I'll just say that.
No, verbatim, right?
Yeah, they changed like a date. They changed like the word Tuesday to Wednesday. And that was it. And everything else you've memorized. So that was kind of strange. It's such long things, but long passages. But then as I studied them, I started to really get the characters, like how his mind works. And so there was something going on in there. And it's new. It's a challenge for me. And I'm really enjoying it, and yes, it's
you can tell it
different.
comes off very well. I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody else doing that part. You've really owned it as an actor, definitely.
Well, thanks.
Yeah,
I'm lucky.
Is there anything hard for you? I always ask this to guys who are good actors. Like, what's hard for you to play? Like, is there like one that's like that emotion is hard, or that type of a scene is difficult?
I don't think I could cry. So some actors can cry. It's nuts. I did a movie called Melvin Goes to Dinner, and it's Annabelle Gurwitch is in it, and she had a scene where she cries, and she just cries.
Yeah.
And every time you do it, tears come
How do you do that?
flowing out of her eyes.
A lot of actors can't put the tears out. Like, you'll see them, like, they do the crying face, but like, your face is dry.
They just do that. They just wince.
It's like, your face is dry. Who cries with a dry face?
She just cried.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? How do you do that? She's like, oh, it's acting,
No, I think there's something screwy in the
boy,
head.
yeah, that's
I
fucking.
think there's something that you're always on the brink of crying. You're constantly on the brink of crying.
If she thinks her boyfriend's not listening during a discussion, that fucking comes out. Always
starts
there.
crying. Yeah, she's always got to hold it back.
Yeah, so I don't think I could do that. But otherwise,
I think it's a woman thing.
Yeah,
I think they have the ability
easier.
to do that much easier than men.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. I've seen guy crying in movies and TV shows.
Some
It's pretty
people.
amazing.
Demi Moore has a great teardrop. Denzel. That won him the Oscar in Glory. It's like, he's just standing there getting whipped, and the fucking tear just drops.
I think the single tear on the not crying face has more impact
Oh, my God,
than
yeah.
the goofy cry face.
Yeah.
Like Demi Moore just stood there and one tear in
Ghost
just fell out of her eyeball. You're like, holy shit, that's fucking
How do you
amazing.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes you do that with mentholatum.
Yeah,
You know about that?
yeah. They put the fan with the menthol in your face.
They blow in your eye through one of those menthol inhalers.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh shit!
And then just before they say action, and somebody blows through that into your eye for like 10 seconds, and then
Burns.
gets out of the frame, and then tears.
Yeah,
come
you
out.
just
But
start
that's different.
yeah,
I could do
blubbering.
that.
Yeah, I could react to an injury.
That's what you're doing. Yeah,
Just
I'm
hurt
injured
me.
here. This,
I
this
can
is
cry.
painful.
Yeah, I don't know, but I really think that one Denzel Washington. Oh, he did it in X too when he met Elijah Muhammad. He fucking dropped a tear, a
man.
couple of
Yeah.
tears, and it's really intense because like there was no blubbering
Yeah,
lead
yeah,
up
yeah.
to it. It was a deadpan face, and then flap. There was no indication.
Amazing.
Where
Amazing.
I believe me, that's how I would ruin it. I would go like, "Get me a tissue." Like I would really fucking let the audience know it was coming.
Cut.
You're not supposed to say tears coming and look in the front camera.
It's Jim Cut Norton.
Yeah, 50 take idiot. I tend to do better as the takes go on. Like Louis fun to shoot with because
Yeah.
he works like a comic. But some guys are better in the first.
What do you mean he works like a comic? Does he?
He's okay with fucking around a little bit, like
Yeah,
a stand up,
yeah.
like because he's in charge. So whatever you like, he'll go. All right, let's just do it, and then like we'll play with a line a little bit,
Yeah.
or I'll add something, or he'll add something. He's fine doing that as a stand up.
Right. No, I don't change anything. By the way, people, because I've done so much comedy and because Saul Goodman is funny, they say, so do you improvise a lot of that? And I don't improvise anything.
It's
Not
all
not
written
a single
and-
word.
yeah.
No.
That's even more
Don't
impressive.
stray.
God, I would have
I
edited that.
really learn it verbatim.
Yeah.
And do it verbatim.
Well, the writing is so good on that show. You know,
It's kind of fun to do that too because that's where you really go. So how do I get from this thought to this thought? And it's like it's neat to do something new. I mean, I'm 50 this year, and people don't often let you do something very different from what you've done. When you get older, so it's cool to have this opportunity. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's also obviously it's being written, but you have to deliver the lines, and you can't just do it deadpan straight face. There's inflections and facial expressions and body movements, and you do play a great sleazy lawyer.
I just dig through it and ask kind of follow his train of thought and ask myself what he's thinking about. And one thing I also do is Robert Evans, the famous film producer.
Yeah.
The Kid Stays in the Picture. Great book, and the best book on tape ever.
Book on tape, really?
Kid Stays in the
Experienced
Picture.
a book on tape.
Oh, it's so awesome
that.
because he's got this incredible. You know Robert Evans, right?
Yeah, I know the
And he's got this. Crazy, like up and down to his voice, and he's always saying, "Did I do the right thing? No." Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. It's like a sing-song thing, and the pacing changes up, and he's just really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
So I always do all my lines as him a couple times before I go out there.
Oh, wow.
Just because he's able to do like a monologue, and you want to hear the whole thing, and he puts like, do I think that's a smart move? Not in a million years. And it's just this crazy rhythmy thing, and I think it maybe helps me to be more entertaining in those long
I've heard they tell us we have to wrap up. I guess I don't know if you have other press.
Well, we got a special we're running.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, your comical
Oh,
content.
when does that start?
Right now,
okay.
really, to be honest with you.
Hey, do you know Fred Willard at all?
I do know Fred.
Do you like him more now today than you did yesterday? I know I do.
I saw Fred only a few weeks ago. We did a Jeff Garland's movie a few weeks ago, and he was so funny.
He's fucking hilarious, man. He's
And
really
he
funny.
didn't jerk off once.
Not once.
That you're aware of.
Now look,
That's so.
I got to ask you something.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't go into porn theaters, and this is old people need to learn how to use the internet, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
You
Really
are
do.
all set.
You
Yes.
missed the first half of our discussion where this
Yes.
was
He needs a
definitely
modem.
covered.
But
You got to buy him a modem.
Shouldn't you be arresting people who are in porn theaters not jerking? What are they doing?
Exactly.
Those are the creeps.
What a creepy
Why are
person
you in there not
to go
jerking
and
off?
watch.
Yeah, playing words with friends. Yeah, that is a little bit creepy.
I don't know what he was doing, or I don't care. I don't want to know.
Who
I can't
cares?
believe this. People are talking about this in this day and age.
He's
And
hilarious.
PBS fired him, those shitheads. Even if he was jacking off, he's not fucking
in the right place.
He's doing it in the right place.
Yeah.
It's a good citizen. That's what you should do in
the
a
right
porn
place
theater.
is home in front of your
PBS
computer,
is
by the way.
limping
But
along,
yeah.
selling weird old combinations of the old TV shows. So weird.
Yeah,
PBS.
yeah,
What the?
yeah.
And they get this brilliantly
And they-
funny dude, this relevant guy who's been in so many great things.
Yep.
And they shit can him because he behaves like an adult in an adult establishment. If it happened, even.
If it
he's
even
saying
happened,
it didn't
but-
happen.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm hoping for his
Yeah.
sake it actually didn't, just because I'm sure he's embarrassed.
Well, I don't care either way. I don't want to hear any more about it. It's just so.
That's it.
You know what I mean? It just shouldn't be reported. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
Leave
yeah.
people alone. If they want to go in there, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm sure, back in the old day, well, it's, the new 24-hour news cycles. I'm sure Clark
Yeah.
Gable maybe at some point wanted to spank one out in a movie theater, and they left him
Oh
alone.
my God.
They didn't even
Yeah, news
bother
today
with
is a
it.
little different, man.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff
Nowadays,
that's irrelevant to real
You
news.
got to fill it up, Fill
I
up that
remember
news.
one time jerking off in a porn theater on my way home from a gig. I was, this is way back when they existed on Route 130.
Yeah.
And you'd always have to sit in a corner away from everybody because guys sit together when they want to fuck around. But I would always be off to myself. And I remember just you could kind of see in the upper corner a bunch of guys were lining up in front of some dude who was blowing everybody. And I had to leave. That was the first time I was where poppers were used. So
Really?
I saw the guys breathing, and I'm like, this is too fucking. Even for me, it was too creepy.
Too David
Like a
Lynch.
movie, right? Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be watched jerking off.
Yeah, no,
I believe me, I'm a hero when I walk into those places. I fucking sashay in, and all eyes are on me. So I left. Yeah, I'm dishy.
Well, how about the fact that at his age, he's
Yeah, just going to town.
Yeah, it's good to know.
It's
It's good to know. You still have those urges.
That's fantastic, and he was in the right place for an older guy. I mean,
Leave
he
him
obviously,
alone.
he's got to learn that you can stay home and do that now.
So maybe he lost PBS. Maybe he'll get
pick up
some
some fucking pay-per-view.
hard-on medication for old people.
Exactly,
Yeah,
the
fucking-
Postivac.
I love the guy.
Yeah,
shouldn't-
he's fucking
It
hilarious.
doesn't
He's-
change a thing.
Guy's given us years of great entertainment. Leave him alone. Let him do what he wants. I just wanted to know if you knew him and were familiar with
He's
the
a great man.
story.
Real
Yes, he
sweet
is.
guy.
And so are you, Bob.
Wow,
thanks for coming. Well,
thanks.
I don't
Thanks
know,
for having
but
me,
I would
guys.
assume. Thanks
Breaking
for
Bad
coming in.
Sunday at 10 p.m. on AMC.
Great show.
Yeah.
I definitely suggest you catch up very quickly and then watch Sunday's episode.
And are
Love it.
you active on Twitter? It's Mr. Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, I'm not that active on Twitter,
Odenkirk.
but
I think
I'll
you have 3
tell
tweets,
people.
sir.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I'm
you
not
gotta
going to
tweet.
be involved
Right.
like you are.
Tweety
little
guy.
bit.
I'm just going to
Yeah.
tell people when I have something
Yeah.
on TV or whatever.
Bob, thank you, bro.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Sure.